So who are the Asgard? You'll find out right after this. Hey everybody, I am Taylor and I'm the Stargate Guy, where I talk to you about everything and anything Stargate. Today is another racial profiling, and we're talking about the Asgard. The Asgard are one of the most advanced races in the Stargate Universe during the course of SG-1. The Asgard are originally from the Ida galaxy, and they evolved on a planet named Althala. Thousands of years ago, but we don't know exactly when, but we do have a couple of best guesses. The Asgard developed cloning as a way to achieve immortality, of extending their life far beyond that of their own. The way that this worked is very simple. They create copies of a body, and their consciousness, when dying, it's put into a computer. That computer then spits out that consciousness into a brand new body, and in 20 minutes you have a happy new little Asgard. We know that the cloning process has taken its toll over time. For example, 30,000 years ago, their bodies looked more like this, which is fairly, well, human, except for the big skull. Now, though, they're about 1 meter tall, grayish, and they look rather frail, because they kinda are physically, because they didn't really need to have strong physical bodies. The Asgard depend on their technology for everything, so much so that they aren't really able to think like us primitive humans. This proved to be a very good thing when they originally made contact with the Furlings, the Nox, and the Ancients, and formed the United Nations of the Stars. Now, when that alliance dissolved and the Asgard were seeing that the Goa'uld were taking human hosts, the Asgards, seeing that humans had great potential, intercepted the Goa'uld and started to kick some awesome snake butt all across the Milky Way galaxy, which is kind of impressive because it's a war, but in another galaxy. Now, when the Asgard kicked out a Goa'uld and rescued the humans on the planet, the Asgard believed that it was not yet time for the humans to realize that their gods were in fact aliens. So what they did is that they helped transition the humans into their natural course of evolution. And that includes setting themselves up to be like gods. For example, Thor is the character that we first came in contact with, who posed as this god to a people. Now, to make sure that the Goa'uld did not come back and invade these planets, the Asgard took certain, let's say, precautions, such as Thor's hammer, which was able to detect if someone was coming through the gate with a Goa'uld symbiote and would transport them into a tiny little hole where they would eventually die. The Asgards realized that they were overextended, fighting an entire war in a completely different galaxy on such a wide front, when they developed a new enemy in their own galaxy of Ida, and that would be the Replicators. The Replicators being extremely resistant to the Asgard weaponry, the Asgard, well, had to put all of their efforts into fighting the Replicators for their own existence, and kind of put human existence on the back burner. Now, in order to accomplish this, the Asgards brokered the Protected Planets Treaty with the Goa'uld. Now, the basics of this treaty is very simple. The Goa'uld system lords cannot touch and must not allow other Goa'uld to touch worlds designated by the Asgard as protected planets. If they do, the Asgards will come in and kick their ass. In return, the Goa'uld stipulated that the Asgard cannot allow the human populations of those planets to develop to a point where the Goa'uld will consider them a threat. At one time, the Asgard was able to enforce this treaty, kicking any Goa'uld's butt and establishing that, yes, this is the treaty, do not touch these planets. However, when the Replicators became a massive threat, they no longer had the ability to enforce the treaty as they once did. However, the Goa'uld, for the most part, respected the treaty because they remember exactly how much technology the Asgard has and how effective it was against their own. The Asgard government itself consists of a High Council. This High Council consists of at least 9 members that we know of, who makes large planetary decisions on behalf of the whole of the Asgard. The Asgard in general do have a military formation, but they also use their skills of science and knowledge in order to progress their civilization more, and to work on the cloning. You remember the cloning? Well, the cloning process proved to be a massive downfall for the Asgard over time. Apparently, after you make a copy of 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 a copy for thousands and thousands of years, eventually there's going to be some degradation. Anyone who remembers burning off copies of CDs knows exactly what I'm talking about. Eventually, the Asgard were not able to reverse the process and go back to sexual reproduction, meaning that eventually their civilization was going to die out. Now, this was accelerated when they tried to address this issue again and try to resolve it. They inadvertently started, well, a plague that would kill all of the Asgard, and they would all be dead in a matter of a very short time period. An ally that developed in recent years, the Asgard deemed the Tauri worthy of imparting their whole legacy, all of their knowledge and all of their best technology to them. Knowing that the Tauri would use this technology for good and not for their own nefarious purposes, the Asgard thought that this was a capable hands to leave their legacy in, especially since that they were starting to take over the legacy of the ancients already. The Asgard not only deemed the Tauri worthy because we kicked some gold butt in the Milky Way galaxy, but because we helped the Asgard to save their entire civilization on more than one occasion from the nefarious enemy, the Replicators. Who would have thought that a freaking bullet could take out something that a civilization thousands and thousands of years more advanced than us could not do? As soon as the Asgard handed off their legacy to the Tauri, they decided to commit mass suicide, and by doing that, they exploded their entire planet after they had gathered all of the Asgard and all of their technology, ensuring that it does not fall into the wrong hands. Let me know what you think about Asgard in the comment section down below, and if you're new to this channel, go ahead and subscribe. Great videos are coming out every week, where I talk to you about everything and anything Stargate. You can click right here for another racial profiling, or you can click right here for some awesome Stargate action. And until next time, I'll see you on the other side.